Our Plan Your Visit system completely transformed the way that we welcome visitors at my church. But here's what's crazy. Most churches are getting this completely wrong. They're hiding these forms deep in their website, they're making them too complicated, and they're making it so that visitors have to jump through hoops just to let someone know that they're coming. When we implemented this system at my church, we saw an immediate spike in the number of visitors that we got, but even better, we saw a spike in the number that came back for a second time. That's because a Plan Your Visit system makes your visitors much stickier. I'm gonna show you my entire system step by step, from where to put the form to what kind of questions to ask to exactly how do you follow up with people. And I know this works because we've helped over 100 other churches implement it on their church websites. And the best part, I think it's easy enough that you can implement this entire system this week. So let's talk about it. Well, if you're watching this video, you've probably already heard a little bit about setting up a Plan Your Visit system at the church. And just to give you a breakdown, when I say a Plan Your Visit system, this means a section on your church website that lets someone get on there, learn a little bit about what to expect on a Sunday, and then fill out a form to let you know that they plan on visiting this coming week. We found these to be so effective because someone's first time experience at your church actually doesn't happen at your church anymore. It is happening online. It's not in your foyer or in your parking lot, it's on your homepage of your website and then your Plan Your Visit page. I find a lot of pastors forget this, but going to a church for the first time is really scary for most people. Now, sure, we're comfortable there. We know that our people are nice and they won't bite or anything, but a lot of times people are afraid about what to expect and if they're gonna fit in or if they're gonna be judged or not. And what a Plan Your Visit page does is it helps someone to feel comfortable and alleviate some of those fears before they walk in your doors. And why does this work? Well, we actually have some data to back this up. In our experience, when someone fills out one of our forms online, we find that they're 3.5 times more likely to follow through and show up for their first Sunday. And even better, and frankly, one of my favorite things, is a Plan Your Visit visitor is just downright stickier. The reason for that is that when someone fills out a form, it allows you as the leader of the church to start the conversation before Sunday. You can send an email or a text message to them just saying how excited you are to meet them and to make sure we look out for each other, to make sure I get to shake your hand and say hi on your first visit. That kind of communication makes someone both more likely to attend for a first time, and because they've had some kind of a conversation with a leader in the church, they're more likely to stick around. And we've also found that Plan Your Visit interactions, they actually help churches to better tailor someone's first time experience at your church instead of just giving them a generic first Sunday. If you know a little bit about someone, even if it's something as simple as that they're married and have some children, well, it helps you to meet them and know who to look for and maybe ask some of those questions that you wouldn't know to ask otherwise. So let's talk about this then. Where do you place your Plan Your Visit section for maximum impact? Well, I don't recommend actually having the form on the homepage of your website, but I do recommend that it become your primary call to action to anybody that visits your church website homepage. A lot of times we make this mistake thinking that our website at our church is primarily for our members, and that really couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, there's only a couple of sections that your church members are going to on your site. They'll go to your sermons section, especially if they've missed a message or wanted to get a recap from it, and they'll also look at your events page on your church website. But the rest of the site, in most cases, is primarily for your church's visitors. Now, what do you put on this page? Well, there's a few things that I recommend that every Plan Your Visit page has. First of all, I think some kind of a video from the lead pastor of the church is really valuable here. If someone can build some kind of a connection, especially if that's the person that's going to text or email them after they fill out the form, that will go a long way to helping them make a connection at your church. I also like to have a frequently asked questions section, and here's what's most important. You need to have a really clear promise of what they will receive as a result of filling out this Plan Your Visit form. We are all very cautious now with our personal information, so anytime someone asks me to give my email or my phone number, I really have to have a good reason to go through that step. You can't just have a Plan Your Visit section without any kind of a promise and expect people to fill it out. What I recommend for most churches is making a few promises on how that will make their Sunday experience better. At my church, we tell them we'll have someone there to meet you at the door, we'll get you some seats right in the middle, and we'll even have a free gift for you and your family, no questions asked. This is usually enough to get someone over the hump and give us their information. But what information should you be asking for? Well, that's the next question you need to answer. You need to remember when it comes to online forms, there's a direct correlation between the number of questions that you ask and the number of forms that you get filled out. So would it be nice to have all of their information to put into Planning Center right on this initial form? Sure, but the more you ask, the fewer forms you'll wind up getting. So for that reason, I don't recommend you ask for anything that isn't really important with making that initial connection. At my church, we ask their name, if there's anybody else that's going to be attending with them, like a spouse or children, what day they're planning on visiting, and then an email address and phone number. That's already a lot to ask for, so don't plan on asking for things like addresses or name and birthdays of children. That kind of stuff can be handled later. Unless, of course, you want to use another hack of including in your Plan Your Visit system a pre-register your kids link. This can save them some time. If you have a long check-in process for someone that's a first-time visitor in your children's ministry, allowing people to save some time on Sunday morning is another great way to get some of their information so that you can continue to follow up with them. So you can consider that as a companion form to this Plan Your Visit form. A pre-register your kids form can really go a long way. One other thing I recommend is making sure to have a testimonial near your form. Whether it's a video or just a text testimony, having someone share about their experience, about how God impacted them and what happened as they got connected to your church really helps people get over that hump and feeling like it worked for someone else, maybe it can work for my family too. So once you have the Plan Your Visit set up as your primary call to action on your homepage, and you have a great form that's set up that's ready to get information to you and start the follow-up process, the only thing left to do is to start following up with people. And what you could do is just set up an automatic response where someone would get a generic email from the pastor or some other leader at the church telling them you're excited to see them on Sunday. But I highly recommend that you go with a different approach. I think in this day and age, people can sniff out a canned email like nobody's business. And so in almost every circumstance, I recommend having an actual personalized email that you send out right after someone plans a visit. I know this is more work. It's easier just to have something that's automated, but being able to address them by name and maybe say something specific about what you're going to talk about on Sunday and address any of the intricacies that they might have put into their form, people will be able to see this when they get your response. And also the fact that it doesn't come immediately after they fill out the form, that goes a long way. Now, there is a danger with this, and I am guilty of this. Sometimes I have missed forms because they came in late on Saturday night and I didn't check it until right before church on Sunday morning. And at that point, the response is probably too late. And in that case, it's okay. A lot of times they show up anyway because you didn't promise you'd send them a response. I've actually had really good results with a soft apology email where I say, I'm sorry I wasn't able to reach out to you and didn't catch you on Sunday morning, but let's make sure we connect next week when you come back. I'm going to be talking about this topic. This kind of communication, whether it's after the fact or preferably before they visit for the first time, it really helps your visitors start to build up that courage and feel like they're committed and start to put it in their plans for actually being there on a Sunday morning. Now, be prepared. The most common day for these Plan Your Visit forms to be filled out is Saturday, but we've seen them come in all throughout the week, and you'll need to have a system that's ready to address that at any given time. The biggest mistake that churches make is letting those forms go without having any kind of communication after the fact. In fact, I would make it a policy that our church will respond to any one of these Plan Your Visits within a 24-hour period. From there, assuming that people actually made the leap and showed up on a Sunday morning, it's so important that you continue to have a well thought out visitor follow-up process. And if you want to make sure your church website is the best it possibly can be, I highly recommend that you take advantage of our totally free church website analysis. I'll leave a link to that down in the description, answer a couple of questions, and we'll get a report into your inbox with some marching orders on exactly how you can set up your church website to be the best that it can possibly be. If this video has been helpful to you, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit that subscribe button down below. We put out new content like this every single week. In fact, I shot a video and it actually includes a document where you can take my exact visitor follow-up sequence, the text and everything, and use it at your church. I think that's the video that you should watch next.